Hiya, new location, shocker I know. I have the review questions. I finally come up with some questions to answer for when I do these reviews. I am reviewing Bite My Thumb's production of Rent. This is the programme that I got. This is the cast on the back. I will potentially go through this later, but I don't have a lot of charge on my camera, so I want to do this quite, not quickly, but quite speedy, so I don't have to charge my camera. I'm also sat with the sun setting out my window, so it looks great. Okay, we're gonna start. First question, what is the star rating? So the star rating I give this is a 4 stars. It's a really good production. I really enjoyed it. There were some bits where it was more to do with the production quality, so the lights didn't work right, so they had to bring the house lights up to try and make it lighter. Some of the characters were in darkness a lot rather than having spotlights on them. Some of their mics cut out and didn't work, but that's more to do with the production side of things than the actual performance side of things. The performance side of things were great, the set was amazing. Honestly, they had a live band on the stage under some of the set, that looked really good. They moved a lot of the set round, which is quite useful for me to know for my college work of how they did it and how they incorporated it all into the choreography. But 4 stars, it was great. It was just some of the production side of things didn't work as well as maybe they would have hoped. But 4 stars. Okay. Who gave the standout performance is the next question. And for this we go into the book. So I'm going to start with Johnny Landels. He played Rogers in the show. So Roger has a whole character arc. My god. This man goes from, at the beginning of the show, we get told he has AIDS because we find out through Mark telling us that his girlfriend had AIDS, told him, and then unfortunately she ended her own life. And that is all before this show even starts. But watching his little character development from going to somebody that never leaves the house, to leaving the house, to go and find Mimi, to this, that and the other, to falling in love, to leaving to go to Santa Fe. Side note, what is it with musical theatre and Santa Fe? Like, I love muses and I loved Rent, but what is it with Santa Fe and musicals? It's literally just a pure desert, honestly. But no, he gave a really good performance as Roger. I fully believed his character and the development and the arc he went on. And then the song that he'd been trying to write for the past year. And I know it's not the guy's fault. I know it's not Johnny's fault. I know that. But the song wasn't that good. He's like, yeah, I've been trying to write this song for a whole year, and it's a really incredible, really good song at the end of it. It's like, not that good. It's a sweet song. I mean, I didn't have a dry eye. The audience, as they left, didn't have a dry eye in the audience. But honestly, I was there and I was like, what? We've had things like Rent and Seasons of Love, and this is your song that you've been trying to write. Okay, cool. That's great. I also need to give a shout out to Nikki, who played Mimi, who also was somebody with AIDS in the show and went through and is meant to be a 19-year-old stripper and has an addiction to drugs and to heroin. And honestly, her whole storyline and her whole story arc and her getting with somebody who obviously everybody else didn't like, and at the time, and Roger doesn't like either. Her whole story arc was so moving. And it's so sad to see somebody who's literally a year older than I am, or the character that's meant to be a year older than I am, going through all of that. And I just thought about the people that I do know and imagining them going through it, and it hit close to home, thinking about all my friends, or some of my friends, having to go through that. The next person I need to shout out is Nathan Wynn. So the night before this one, their cast one of their cast members who was playing Collins, he's called Mickey May. In the interval of the night previous to the one I saw, called out sick. He did the first act, but then he had to call out sick. And so with 20 minutes, Nathan got called onto the stage to play the character Collins. And he played the character on the night that I saw it as well. And to say he had 20 minutes, I know he's the director, so he kind of knows the show inside and out, but 20 minutes to learn choreography, to try and memorise and know all those lines, because most directors don't do that. They don't know the lines or the singing lines or anything like that. So to have this dude 20 minutes notification of getting onto stage was just incredible. I've messaged him, I've let him know how good I thought he was. And yeah, so he was just incredible. My battery's starting to flash at me. Oh gosh, oh no. Then quick shout out to Liam Gordon. He played Angel. He played the story and that character so beautifully and so well. I looked around the audience during his death scene and there was not a dry eye in that audience. It was so moving and so sad, his portrayal of Angel. And it was unbelievable, absolutely unbelievable. So those are the people that personally gave me standout performances in the show. I really enjoyed their performances. Okay, moment highlight. Two moment highlights. So Seasons of Love, obviously that's a moment, actually 4 moments of highlights. Jesus, I've got so many. So obviously you've got the whole Seasons of Love. That's always a beautiful song to watch and to listen to, and it really means a lot to a lot of people. And then another one is oh, what is it now? It's no. Why can oh no, hang on, I'll remember. So, Seasons of Love, Mimi's death was a moment standout, Angel's death was a moment standout, and there was something else. I'm gonna have to look in here, because most of the show is singing and songs anyway, so I will look in here and have a look. Here we go. Yes, that was it. The repeated song of Christmas Bells Are Ringing, the amount of times me and the audience laughed every time they came on, the more and more people that came on just to sing that bit. Like, the first time we all just sat and we listened and were like, yeah. The second time we gave a bit of a chuckle because somebody else was singing it with him, and then it just grew more and more till like close to the end of Act 2, where it was like the entire ensemble just singing this round. I don't know why it was a standout moment or why we were laughing, but we were. It was great. And then obviously Mimi's death, but not death, that was an emotional one, and as I've already stated, Angel's death was a really emotional one. The song before Angel's death I was a little bit confused about, but again, that's nothing to do with the production, that's more to do with the great late Jonathan Larson. No, the late great, that's the right way around, the late great Jonathan Larson. Jeez, I can't talk today, can I? How was the theatre-going experience? So, the theatre-going experience was absolutely great. I was working that day. I work as an usher at the Joseph Rowntree Theatre, and that's where the production was. And I know that theatre inside and out. I've performed on the stage, I'm working in front of house, so it like meant the theatre-going experience for me was absolutely great. There was the auditorium that was full of people who were family members and people who really wanted to see the show. As when I saw it, it was Bite My Thumb's last performance of Rent, so I'm really glad I did. Sorry about that, my camera's cut out as expected. So we're on about the theatre-going experience. So yes, so I was working there. I really like the theatre, I've performed on it before, etc, etc, so I really enjoyed it. And the thing that I really liked most is we just got a briefing of like what jobs we'd got that day, so what we had to do, and then we didn't have anything to do until we opened the doors. So what we did is we stood by the doors and we watched the Bite My Thumb performers through the windows of the doors as they were on stage doing like a warm-up, and we watched them, and then they did like their little pre-show ritual hands in lift up, and then some of them turned around and some of them were in tears, and I just looked and went, oh, it must be their last show. And the ushers, a lot of them have never been performers before, so like, pardon, I was like, oh, some of them are just on the stage crying, it must be like their last show or something, because that's kind of the way you get when you're performing and it's your last show. And they're like, oh yeah, I bet it would be really emotional. Honestly, I looked up, I searched up like their Facebook, and I was like, I wonder. And it was the entire cast's last show. It was like their last performance of the show. So because it was their last performance of the show, they made all the emotional scenes 10 times more emotional because they had the emotions in them. And during the very last song, which is like a reprise of Seasons of Love, and they kind of all come together and sing together as an ensemble on the stage, just sitting on these tables, they had the guy playing Angel, I've forgotten his name, let me get up his name, Liam. They had Liam come on back in his angel costume, except it was his angel costume from the beginning. So Angel is a character who predominantly wears drag out and about in the streets to parties, and throughout most of the show he is in drag, apart from the very first scene where we see him playing the drums and the scene where he dies. He is not in drag for those two scenes, so he came onto a stage in his playing the drums outfit, so he wasn't in drag, and he wasn't even singing, he was just in floods of tears, crying. He couldn't stop crying. Everybody else was in tears, but they were still carrying on. But poor Liam, man, I felt so bad because his voice was amazing, but bless him, he was just sat on the edge of the stage next to Nathan the director, who was playing his love interest in the show, just crying his eyes out. And I was like, I really want to go on stage and give you a hug because I understand that feeling. But because they had the emotions of this is our last show, this is our last time performing together, it made the theatre going experience so much more enjoyable because they put all their emotions into the scenes. I know I said I've already done about stand-up performances, but I do just need to shout out, where is he? Paul Lonsdale. He played Mark. I need to shout out his voice. Oh my god, he had such a good falsetto rock voice. So did Nathan as well. The amount of high falsetto notes Nathan and Paul pulled out and belted, and in like a rock voice. Oh my god, I was living my best life. I was so happy. But no, that's how the theatre going experience was. So who would enjoy this? Sorry, I've got my laptop now with the questions on. I did on my phone, but I've now got my laptop, I've transferred it all onto there. So who would enjoy this? So this show is, obviously, it's a well-known show. A lot of people know this show. It's been around since the late 80s. So this show is for those that lived through the AIDS epidemic and pandemic. And it's a story about them and their lives. And I know Rent has been getting a lot of controversy recently, but honestly it is filled with, it's a tragic comedy. That's my best way of describing it. There's a lot of tragedy in it with the death and almost all of your main characters are suffering and are dealing with AIDS. I think the only person that has got through it and got to the other side of it is meant to be Mark, from what I picked up from some of the lyrics. It's my first time seeing Rent as well, so I'm not fully 100% sure on the story. So if you lived through the AIDS epidemic and pandemic when that was around, losing millions of people's lives, I think this is a show for you to go to realise that these people were like holding on to hope and stuff like that. It's also something for an avid musical theatre fan like myself. I am obsessed with all things musical theatre, as you know. There goes the phone. But honestly, if you are really big on musical theatre like myself, I think you would go and you would enjoy this. There was a young child there, a young female child. She looked about 9-10 years old. I wouldn't exactly say this show was aimed at her age, but I have a feeling that she was there because she was one of the children of somebody on the stage. But I wouldn't have said the show was for her based on the heavy subjects and the amount of swearing and the amount of almost sex most of the characters have on stage. Literally, there is an entire song, one of my favourite songs, that Mimi sings when she's first talking to Roger, and she's talking about her candle and lighting her candle, and then she just goes, "People have told me my ass looks great, does it?" And she's just on the floor, and it's just like sticking her ass in the air, and he's just like, yeah, sure. I mean, honestly. So personally, I don't think it's not aimed at kids at all. I have 3 younger cousins. I would not take any of them to it, like, at all. But it is for your more older, 14 plus ish, and those that like to know a bit about history. Personally, I'm a big history fan. It's why I enjoy a lot of shows that are based on history, like Newsies. And I know Natasha Pierre and the Great Comet is a historical piece, and I know 6 isn't really close to history, but that is still about history. Same with Hamilton. But I like history musicals pretty much. They really enjoy me and they entertain me. So watching Rent, and knowing it was about the AIDS epidemic, I then have gone away home and done my research on the AIDS epidemic and have learnt a bit more about it. And honestly, it's a really sad, hard-hitting subject. But those are the people that I personally think would go to see the show and would enjoy it. What could they have done better? Small bits of criticism, again, as I've already said when I star rated it, it was more the production quality than anything. The house lights seemed to come on in a scene where they weren't meant to, as well as all the lights that were on the stage. Some people's mics kept cutting out, but Gyro's mics are quite old, so they're not really the best. You can't really help with that. You try to give your more main characters the better microphones when you're there. So the lights, there was also a lot of times where the characters were in like darkness, and were like, it was just them 2 on the stage, but they were in like darkness, and there were like lights lighting behind them but not actually on them, on the spotlights. I don't know if they didn't have any follow spotters in that day or anything, or if they didn't want follow spotters in, but it was just like, why are they singing to each other in the dark when there are lights behind them? Where are the spotlights on these people? Again, nothing to do with this production. It's more to do with the story of Rent. I got through halfway through the first act and I was understanding stuff, and then Maureen came on and did her weird cow mooing Diet Coke thing, and I got really confused. I understood none of it, and it lasted for about 10 minutes, and she was on about a cow in the desert not producing milk, and they're only meant to drink Diet Coke, and then she made a sexual innuendo about the udders, and then she told the crowd at her concert to moo, and I was so confused.
But honestly, again, not to do with the production, more to do with the writing. So you can't really improve what's already been written. But honestly, there wasn't much I would change. Everybody else had different costumes apart from Mark and Collins, but I think purely Collins didn't do a costume change because he did only have 20 minutes the show previous to do the characters. They couldn't have found him a costume earlier that morning for his character, for him to wear, so it didn't really matter that he was wearing one costume throughout the entire thing. But Mark did. He just wore one costume throughout the entire show, and it was a bit like, everybody else in Act 2 has changed costumes. Please put something else on. Please wear a different costume. I'd like to see you in something different. Thank you. But honestly, apart from that, I really enjoyed this show. It was really fun to watch. The cast were just incredible. They had some pretty amazing songs in there. I already know the song La Vie Boheme, Take Me or Leave Me, and Seasons of Love. So I kind of did know a bit of the story from about Rent. I knew it was about AIDS, and I knew it had a lot of LGBTQIA plus people in it, but that was about it really. There was one bit that on the pure acting side of it that I would criticise. Take Me or Leave Me needed a bit more anger to it, a bit more angst. Yes, these characters break up and get back together throughout the entire show, like that's the whole joke and the whole point of them. But Take Me or Leave Me is meant to be their big angry breakup song, and it was sung quite caring and soft, and I don't know if it was a character choice or if I've just seen that many angry versions of Take Me or Leave Me before, that's all I had in my mind. But I didn't enjoy it. Personally, it would have been nice if it was more angry and aggressive, and then it would have all fit with kind of the rock pop opera that was going on in the show. But that was my only bit of criticism. But no, thank you to Bite My Thumb for their amazing performance of Rent. And honestly, I know there was something going on in the theatre industry, because it was going all around the theatre industry, that somebody had complained about Bite My Thumb's production of Rent because it involved gay people. It's like the main thing of the story that a lot of them are gay and bi and lesbian, and one of them wants to be a drag queen. Like, it's the main thing of the story that a lot of people know. I don't get why you are complaining about it. And then you had to issue a statement. Honestly, that was just pure ridiculousness. You didn't really have to do that. That was just a Karen being a Karen. But honestly, you guys were great. I really enjoyed your performance. Thank you so much for bringing it to our little theatre. And yeah. Well, I guess that's it. I hope you enjoyed this video. This is the first time I've just sat and reviewed something and haven't done a vlog, then a haul of what I've got, then a Q&A on my Instagram Live, then a review of the show. And this is the first time I've had proper review questions to answer and not just blabbed my way through it all. So yeah, I really hope you enjoyed this video. I hope it turned out well. I really do. Even though the sun's setting and all I've got is this little light here lighting me up. Because I forgot to bring my ring light because I'm really smart. But no, thank you. I hope you enjoy. I'm now gonna charge my camera so I can upload the videos, get them edited together, and put them out on YouTube tomorrow, because I do want this review up roughly tomorrow. The other vlogs and everything that have come before it, the other shows and everything that have come before it's The Addams Family, Blood Brothers 6, and then Bedknobs and Broomsticks again. Those all will be coming. I've just finished editing my Bedknobs and Broomsticks one. My Addams Family one's been edited for ages. I've just got to do my 6 and my Blood Brothers one. And my Blood Brothers one has 2 videos that are like both 25 minutes in length. So roughly about 50 minutes in length there that I have to edit and splice together. And it has to go on the back of something that's already like 3-4 minutes long. So I think I'm gonna refilm those, especially because it's the review that took so long. But that's enough of me blabbing on this video. I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you all soon. Bye bye.